Hello everyone and welcome into crushthestreet.com. I got another exciting guest on the line with me today, Michael Noonan of edgetraderplus.com. Precious metals trading and forecasts, everything you would want from analysis on the precious metals market and really how it pertains to geopolitics and everything that goes on that really trickles down and impacts the finances as it pertains to how we should invest our money. So he's got a wealth of knowledge. He's a pioneer in the space. He's somebody who is a true authority when it comes to forecasts and economics. So I'm happy to have him on the line with us today. Michael Noonan, thanks for coming on Crush the Street with me. All right, so let's start off with silver. We know historically the pendulum always swings harder with silver than it does with gold. There are more violent corrections down and very exciting upwards moves. And it's hard to get excited about $20 silver. I will admit that, especially even if we were at $20 right now, we would all be looking around at each other going, hey, this is a pretty depressed market considering where silver has been at its all-time high and then just trickled down from there. Right. But silver is going from $14 to $20. I mean, that's just a 43% return. I mean, that's a big return just from $14 to $20. That's a big move, and I think we forget about that. I mean, 40% move from 14 to 20 is a big deal. So I'd love for you to comment on that.
Well, that's if and when it gets there. Probably more when and not if. But there's a lot of headwind for silver, just negotiating through the $15 and $16 range. It did drop down into the mid 14s. It's trading around 1470 currently. There was a high volume day, I think 2 days ago on the 2nd, yet the price didn't do very much. In fact, it closed almost mid-range. So that tells me that there's still if you see anything, it's not strength coming into the market. It's probably more short covering, and not demand coming into the market. So it's got to go. It has about 20 to 30 days, trading days above the 1470. So how negotiation transits through that area will tell us a lot about the direction for silver in the coming for the rest of October and then the coming months ahead. But it looks at everything has been labored, and the ease of movement has been downward consistently, and we're still on the downtrend on silver and gold.
Yeah, so talking about this pendulum swing that we see with silver, it's always stronger with silver than it is with gold. And one of the things that I'd like to point out is gold going back to 1900 from 1200 would actually be equal from silver going from 14 to just over $22. Percentage-wise, it's exactly the same, and I think some people might actually be shocked by that. And intuition tells me just with those numbers and how easily silver moves around, it's easier for silver to go back to 22 than it is for gold to go back to 1900, which I believe both are very plausible over the coming mid to longer term. But yeah, I mean, any more insight you'd like to share on that and just how silver trades, how gold trades, and maybe the opportunities that exists?
But I think if gold were to go back to 1900, silver would certainly be way above 20 or 22. The pendulum swing, as you say, is silver. Silver is certainly much weaker relative to gold of late, and it's priced that way for a reason. We don't always know what it is, but the market is pricing it and saying this is the value right now. So I think what you described as the relative swing back to 22, equivalent to gold currently, doesn't really hold much water for me from a technical posture, because the market tells me that this is the way silver is priced right now. The gold-silver ratio is in excess of 80. At 73, I stepped in and traded some silver for gold, just based on the ratio. I'm talking physical, not futures contracts. And it went down to 63, and it since rallied, not rallied, but it's come back into the 80s, mid-80 range. So that tells us how the market has been relative to gold, and it continues to be weak.
So why do you believe silver has been, especially weak compared to gold? And why do you believe the precious metals have just undergone such a brutal bear market since 2011? I know some people think we were out of it, coming off of December of 2015 here. But, I mean, it's been these quick spikes upward where we have these 1350 gold price in a very short order. And then it kind of trends down again slowly. And then, we would see it again and then trends down again. So it's been a brutal market. Why do you believe that to be the case?
I think initially it's been suppressed by the central bankers and those who are in control of the money. They don't want any competition whatsoever from precious metals in their fiat scam or fiat scheme for currencies, the intrinsic value of which is zero. The thing that I find problematic right now is how will the precious metals perform. Everyone was talking about perhaps a reset, as they call it in the market, and gold's going to go to 10,000, silver to 400. I'm not quite sure if we're going to see a reset like that. The only way you would see a reset is if someone were to back their currency with a gold and silver, specie back it like it used to be in this country. I don't see any reason for doing that because that constricts any motivation for expanding the paper money supply for any government, whether it be China, whether it be Russia. Russia and China have been large accumulators of gold primarily. And I think that's more for insurance because they want to have gold has always been the stability for any country, and they just want to have it for insurance. I don't think they're going to use it to back their currencies by any stretch of the imagination. China is already totally digital in their currencies. Both Russia and China keep referring to wanting to cooperate with the IMN, so they're still within that sphere of the New World Order type, but with a different spin because they're not beating the same drum. They're not marching to the same band. They're probably switching horses, I think, midstream, going from the Western control of everything, now switching over to the Eastern. China, Russia, China building the One Belt Road and doing everything economically that they can with as many countries as they can, whereas the United States, in contrast, is going at war or threatening countries and destroying countries financially whenever they can. Big contrast and difference, and I think the rest of the world is tiring of the United States and their posture.
One thing that I will say is seeing all the headlines since the Trump election, strong economy, a lot of investment, a lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm for the U.S. economy, the stock market doing well, has obviously put a lot of pressure on precious metals because it's not a safe haven type of environment. People aren't looking for a safe haven. And so we've seen, stronger dollar here and there, and it's pushed the price down for precious metals on top of what you said about central banks, which I completely agree with. But, with rising interest rates because of that quote unquote strong economy, we're starting to see some unintended consequences or slowdowns in the economy. We've seen real estate slow down here and there. Even today, the market was down on bond yields rising and that cutting into dividend paying stocks because there's now competition on interest rates, or more competition, I should say. So I'm curious, if we see a potential slowdown here with the economy, is that going to be a reason to be more bullish on precious metals?
Well, it would be. Again, the problem I have is I haven't determined yet. I don't follow cryptocurrencies a lot, but I think that they may be the next fiat currency replacement rather than silver and gold. I didn't really finish that thought in my last paragraph with you. I think the cryptocurrencies could keep a damper on both gold and silver. And I wonder how gold and silver are going to perform in the years ahead. I don't think they're going to reach the $10,000 or $400 level, respectively, gold and silver, because the cryptocurrencies, I think, are going to be favored by the central banks, by countries, because of their flexibility. There is digital. There is worthless as fiat, but they have a. I think they're going to have a better reception. They've been hammered a little bit, but they're still up very strongly, and they've grossly outperformed both gold and silver. So I think that's going to keep a headwind. Interest rates are still, what, 0.25%, 0.5%. The middle class in this country has been destroyed because of the interest rates. The Federal Reserve trying to keep them low because they don't want to pay off. They don't want to pay such a large portion of whatever money they have to pay the debt, or just keep the debt going in this country. That's the only reason why interest rates went to zero.
Yeah, it's really an interesting point you bring up there. There's been this massive divide with people who own assets and benefited from ultra low interest rates and loose monetary policies, which inflated all of the assets that the wealthy people own. And then you have the poor, or the middle class, as you put it, who don't own assets largely, who rent or who don't own a lot of stocks, who have just watched prices get more expensive on them as wages stagnate or largely stagnate, and the cost of living really outpaces their current situation. And I know that's very tough. So going back to that cryptocurrency comment you made, I'd like to ask you, what are your thoughts on crypto? Is it cryptocurrency in general being a competition for precious metals, or is it one in particular, a monetary cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, or even like a Bitcoin Cash that you see really competing with the monetary system, while the rest of the tokens are just there and, just like any stock would trade, they exist, but they're not necessarily a solution for disrupting a monetary system?
No, but they're certainly a solution for keeping control on the masses, and watching every penny spent, every dollar spent, tracking everything, and that to me is one of the main attractions why cryptocurrencies may be the next step in the procedure. They're talking about the dollar going away and fiat currencies always failing historically as they have. But I think the cryptocurrencies are going to be a very attractive alternative for the failure of the fiat currencies.
Now, Michael, that's interesting. I'll jump in right there because many people would agree with that this is going to be a disruptor. Cryptocurrencies are going to replace the fiat currency system, but not because it's in the hands of the central banks and it could be watched. That's not why people believe that. They believe it's outside of the control of any one centralized party, and that's why people like it. So are you talking about another cryptocurrency that might be centrally controlled and has some sort of surveillance on it that the government's going to really push, like some sort of Fed coin? Or do you actually mean something like Bitcoin, which is like pseudo-anonymous? That's what the community describes it as. And any thoughts on that?
Well, I think the government is already in surveilling, and they know everything there is to know about even something like Bitcoin. Who owns it? They can keep they can keep track of the records. I don't think it's as private as people think, but I think the cryptocurrency will be controlled by the central bankers or by those who are the money changers who are in charge of everything, the elites. And I don't think it'll be Bitcoin. I think it'll be something else. I know Ripple, for example, is being considered for a lot of transactions right now, in addition or separate to the SWIFT system. And they're going to blockchain. They're using that as a blockchain to facilitate payments from country to country. So it's going to initially, I think, be on a much larger scale, beyond the reach of people, and it'll eventually filter down to people who will be forced to use it. I don't think SDRs will work, special drawing rights. That was the thought that was going to be, they were going to replace the dollar, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be, for some reason, I think it's going to be in the cryptocurrency area. I just don't know how yet, Kenneth. I really don't.
Sure.
Well, it just makes sense. Intuitively, it just makes sense to go in that direction because they can keep total control over who has what. All the accounts are in total control or under the watch of the banking system. And oh, sorry, your political dissent was not really favored. We can't find your account, by the way, and it probably take us weeks or months to find out what happened to your money. That type of thing.
Yeah, moving on, I'd like to ask you about the interest rates here rising, and just what we're seeing with the house of cards being stressed. And we know that rising interest rates has given the U.S. a stronger dollar, and it's putting pressure right now even on emerging markets. If you've seen the news, we know the Indian rupee is hitting all-time lows against the dollar. And again, it comes from trying to contain this out of control situation, this whole propped up system that has now gone beyond the tipping point, and any sort of action that's taken now is a potentially indirect or direct consequence in some other situation, some other jurisdiction. And right now we're seeing that with the Indian rupee hitting all-time lows against the dollar. So I'd like to just ask you about this current situation, about the house of cards, and any thoughts on what you think the world can expect going forward as we continue to trudge along and get through this new monetary system and deal with the debt as we have it.
Well, I think the dollar is in a death spiral. It's going up. Eventually, I think it will disappear. You'll see Russia and China, and I think this is why they've been building their own structures. All they're doing is building businesses. They're building infrastructures. Whereas the United States is creating more and more debt. So where do you want to go with debt, or do you want to go with someone who's building business foundations? That's what we're faced with. Right now, the dollar has been so strong. You've got the military behind the dollar as well. As the dollar strengthens, it puts a lot of pressure on emerging markets and even a country like India, and that's problematic for them. Temporary.
Sure.
But it can be very destructive.
There's so many things at play here. The amount of variables that are going on right now, it makes every cycle unique. We all like to compare what is going to happen to even maybe the 2008 or other crashes that have happened in history, the Great Depression, but there's no two cycles that are the same. China is a different country than it was even 10 years ago, and the world is a different landscape. And so, the technology is different. So maybe that's another reason why things have trudged along even more. We've had more technological updates, which makes things more efficient, which gives the economy maybe more life support. So, I'm very interested to see how things play going forward here. I wouldn't have guessed gold would be at $1,200 in October of 2018. It's an interesting world we live in. Michael, if you would, please share some closing thoughts here as we close out this interview. I appreciate your time with us.
I would say if there's the propensity for the gold and silver market right now still remains lower. I've been looking for a turnaround, but I haven't seen confirmation. I'm looking at December 2015 as the possible ending action low. And we're doing a retesting of that low right now, more particularly in silver, and it's holding up a little better in gold. We could see new lows. I think if we do, it'll be a washout, and then the market but it's still in a very protracted sideways trading range. As to the economy, I think the economy is all BS. It's all puffery. It's like the Wizard of Oz. If you look behind the curtain, there's nothing there. Everything is being, all information comes from the government in distorted view that's going to favor what they want to do. I think the government, the federal bank, the central banks, the BIS have been trying to orchestrate this, but I think it's gotten out of hand for them. Yet they're still in control, and they're just trying to make the adjustments moving forward, and they will.
Michael, if people want to learn more about your website and what you offer, please share with us what it is that you guys write about, you do, and how people can reach out to you if they so choose.
Sure. It's edgetraderplus.com. That's my website. I've been laying low for the last several months. I've been focusing primarily on gold and silver, but I've got nothing new to say because the market's in a protracted trading range to the downside. And you can't just keep beating a dead horse saying it's going to turn. I haven't seen any reason why the market's going to turn yet. I've yet to see the bottom confirmed. It's still holding, but it hasn't been confirmed. By confirmation, by being confirmed, I mean we have to see a sustained move to the upside where we begin to see higher highs and higher lows, and we still don't see that yet. So. For that reason, I just kind of, I've even stopped. I used to do a weekly blog. I used to do a weekly commentary, and I've even held back on that. Maybe I do one every 2 or 3 months. So until the market turns around, I don't go to I don't press the sell side on gold or silver because I don't want to participate in helping the money changers destroy that market. And I've stopped from trading from the long side in the stock market because that market's been manipulated and controlled by the federal government. So those are the two biggest markets that I'm missing, in terms of the primary trends. And so that's what keeps me laid back low. So if people want to visit the site, they can. It's been a little more inactive for the reasons I just cited. Until things turn around, I just don't. I have nothing to sell, so I don't have to make any statements to people. When I see something that's notable, I'll make my presence and push it as far as it can help anybody.
All right, Michael. Well, I appreciate your time and insight here at crushthestreet.com. Thanks for coming on the show.
Greatly appreciate it, Ken. It's good to talk to you.